Now when you shake it a little bit and lift it up, this is the mechanism itself. It has to click in nicely. Hi everyone, nice to see you again in this new video. This particular clock that has been given to me is inoperative, and I have tried replacing the battery as well. It still didn't work. If you were to buy this clock online, it would cost you approximately 48 Sing dollars. What I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to try to replace the mechanism of this clock so that we can get it working very cheaply. Any clock that you are attempting to repair, you notice that I am using a grey mat because my clock front face is glass. So when you work with glass, always be very careful to use a soft surface so that you do not damage or crack the glass. In this case, for this, in order to do a mechanism replacement, you have to look at where are the obvious disconnect points or removal points. I'm going to remove these 4 screws. Once you have done that, put the screwdriver aside, lift this up, and you will see the 4 screws falling. Now take this glass, put it aside very carefully, keep the screws very carefully, don't lose them because we would need it for the reassembly. Now you can see 3 set of needles here. Now how do we remove these 3 set of needles? You use a simple scissors, a relatively flat scissors. Put it underneath one by one carefully, and then use 2 hands and lift it up. Now when you shake it a little bit and lift it up, you are able to slowly remove the top needle. Please make sure it's not damaged in any way. Do the same process for the other 2 needles. Now keep them aside for installation again. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to look at this mechanism over here. When you try to remove this mechanism, you have to use a very thin screwdriver, carefully put it in here and try to pull it out. You can see it's pulled out a little bit already. Now, do the same thing for the other side. Just push it out carefully so that it uncatches and then it comes off. Now, be very careful when you're doing this. You don't want to end up breaking these 2 little things here because these are the ones that will hold the mechanism in place. Okay, so this is the mechanism itself. So what I'm going to do is attempt to replace this. You need to make sure that you are getting exactly the right mechanism that you need. There are a few measurements that you need to do. Typically, it's the length and the breadth. Okay, so this one shows approximately 55.6. This way shows approximately 55.6. You also need to measure the thickness. The thickness is approximately 16.35 mm. The other thing that you need to measure is this little thing that's sticking out here. What I would do is I would get the total thickness. You will get approximately 25 mm. So what you really need is this little plunger here, this thickness here of this white color protrusion, because this one will determine the type of mechanism that you require for this clock. So the difference between the total and the thickness of the main mechanism is approximately 8.65 mm. So once you've removed it, keep them safely. Now, what I've done is I had pre-ordered the mechanism. This is the new one over here. Now, the orientation is the same as the old one. I will carefully put it in, taking into account that plunger goes into this hole. So carefully put it in, lock it into place. Okay, here a click sound. Okay, now make sure if it doesn't click, it has to click in nicely. Alright, make sure it doesn't move, it's nice and secure. And turn the clock over and you see your little plunger over here. Now, in the same manner that we've removed the needles, we will do the installation. Carefully put it in, lock it into place. Make sure there's nothing interfering with the needle. Take the second needle, same thing, lock it into place, just like that. Carefully, not damaging the needles because these needles are quite fragile. And the third one, just lock it into place like this. Carefully doing it. Now, when you have done this, tilt the clock to the side and make sure that these needles are not interfering with each other. Because if they are, then you're going to have a problem with the running of your clock. Once you have done the assembly of the needles, make sure that if the hour hand is supposed to be at 12, then my shorter needle, it's supposed to read, in this case, maybe 5 o'clock. Okay, so only way to do the alignment is use a ruler and make sure it's about there. Now, the other thing you would be doing is align the second hand to make sure that everything is in alignment properly. Do another check, go one more round. Okay, make sure nothing is interfering. Go back to the 12 o'clock mark and make sure that everything is aligned very carefully. Then you can proceed to do the assembly of the clock. please remember that this glass assembly, please clean it up. It makes a lot of difference to the final product. Don't go and use any kind of chemicals on the glass. Simple soap and water or just a rag will do, because you are not going to do this again until the next time. Now, we'll bring the frame back here. Align everything carefully. Put the glass in the correct orientation. Make sure it's sitting nicely. Okay, when you lift it up, bring the clock over, turn it around. Make sure your screw holes are lining up with the original screw holes. You can do the installation of the screws. Be very careful, because you must not over tighten them, because the screw will eat into the wood and it will not secure the frame to the base. Once you've done that, just do a quick gap check. Make sure that your screws are holding the frame. Make sure nothing is wobbling. If there's something wobbling, just tighten just a little bit more. So we have completed the replacement of the mechanism. And we are now going to install the battery. So once I put it in, I lock it into place. Let's turn it around and I actually see the clock working. So we have actually spent approximately $5 for the mechanism. A little bit of extra effort on our part, but if the clock is of a sentimental value to you, or if you feel that you want to stretch your dollar, this is what you can do. Under $5, you can get your clock working instead of spending $45 to $50 to buy the same clock again, which is available online. I want to introduce to you a Vernier caliper. It's a plastic one. Now, we can do a little bit more accurate measurements using this relatively inexpensive instrument. You've got the outer jaws for measurement. You've got your inner jaws for measurement as well. The bottom set of graduation is in centimeter or mm, and the upper row on the main scale is in inches. What we are going to do is we're going to focus on the millimeter and the centimeter. Now, what you see here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of this is 1 centimeter in length. On the lower scale here, what you see is each graduation is 0.05 mm. Now, when we close the jaws, it is supposed to give us an estimated value of 0. That means you have these two lines lined up. Now, I want to give you an example of the standard AA battery measurement of the diameter. I will slowly push it through. I will not force the vernier caliper to do a reading. Now, what you are seeing here on the main scale is an estimated value of approximately 13 point something. Now, how do I know that is 13 point something? It's basically showing me that this 0 is aligned to approximately 10, 11, 12, 13. So the final value is 13 point something. But how do I know what is the final value? I look at the next graduation at the bottom that aligns with the top scale. So the main scale plus the lower scale must be aligned, and the only point it is aligned at is at the 9. This tells me that the diameter of this battery is 13.9 mm. Now, let me give you another example. I'm going to use a coin here and I'm going to measure the diameter. Again, we go back to 0, open the jaws, do an outer measurement of the coin. Make sure it's sitting nicely. Do not force the jaws to close onto the coin, just enough for it to touch. Now, what we are seeing is a value of 20, that means 20 mm, and see where the lower graduation aligns. So you can roughly tell it's below the half mark from here, approximately 20.2 or 20.3. You can see it's actually aligned here at the 3 mark, where the two lines coincide. So the diameter of this coin is 20.3 mm. Now, why do I need to do this? If I wanted something a little bit more accurate than just a simple ruler, I would definitely use this. The more expensive calipers, of course, you can get it in digital format and they're made of aluminum alloy or any kind of metal. If I were to use this ruler and try to measure the diameter of this coin, there is no way I can actually get it accurately. So thank you very much for watching our video. Please subscribe to our channel and we look forward to seeing you again in our next video. Thank you.